There's a lot of, I'm just taking it in. I wanted to write notes on everybody because I'm so inspired and moved. I've known Donna for 7 years, but I want to know all of you, and I might have to change my business and work for your bank. So let me tell you a little bit about me, why I'm here, and I'll tell you a little bit about my superpower. So I was diagnosed the first time in 2011. I was a single parent. I'm still single, not that I'm looking or hinting, but so I was a single parent, and I had 2 of my children at home. And I had made the decision to go back to college because it was either that or work 3 jobs to support my family. Between childcare, I still had a baby in diapers. And so after a lot of thought, consideration, and prayer, I made the decision and registered for college. And 1 month later, on my son's 2nd birthday, I heard the words, "You have breast cancer." Big pause. What am I gonna do? And I was in class, I finished that semester, and I had a mastectomy. And 2 weeks later, I was back in school full time. And I had friends say, well, maybe you should take a break. What if you have chemotherapy? And I said, I just took a 20-year break. It's time for me. And if I have chemo, I'll work it. I'll work through it. And so I did end up having to have chemotherapy. And I worked it around my classes. And I became focused and driven and purposeful and mindful and intentional with everything that I did. It was an opportunity for me, and I'm saying my breast cancer created it, not my breast cancer, I don't say mine. The breast cancer created an opportunity for me to reinvent myself, to be a better parent, to be a better friend, daughter, sister, mother, and later on, grandmother. So I stayed in school, as I said, worked at the chemo around my classes, and I finished my AA. Of course, I lost my hair. I started, I had the opportunity to speak in a forum such as this in my class that very first semester about breast cancer in a human sexuality class, that they were going to talk about the female body. And I said, and breast cancer, and I said, well, I'll speak. And my professor at that day said, and one of your colleagues or one of your peers has offered to speak, here's the mic. And so there I was, and all of a sudden I was on fire sharing, taking the fear out of cancer. The C word isn't a death sentence anymore. Now, 99% of women and men diagnosed with breast cancer are surviving, versus the statistics 30 years ago were just, it was a death sentence. It's not. And I didn't ask, and I meant to ask this first, so I'm going to backtrack only because I don't have a speech in front of me, but if anybody here is comfortable and has been diagnosed or is a breast cancer survivor, would you please stand? Can we give her applause and acknowledgement? God bless you. Thank you for sharing and being open. 1 in 8 women, and in Orange County, 1 in 7 women, and I'm saying women, but as Donna mentioned, both men and women get breast cancer. 1 in 8 will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So, be aware. Whenever somebody asks me to speak, I always say yes if my calendar's open. And I do that for a few reasons. One is so I can be a public service announcement. So I can tell you it doesn't have to run in your family. So I can tell you breast cancer typically doesn't hurt. So if you find something that doesn't hurt, it doesn't mean it's cancer, but just because it doesn't hurt, you need to get checked. I can tell you that you deserve proper health care and you should advocate and need to advocate for your health. Men typically think we don't have breasts, we have pets, but you have breasts. I'm telling you, they are. And so typically men don't go to the doctor if they find a lump. They find it later on in later stages. So now, we're becoming, again, more versed, more vocal about it. But if you know something, just go to the doctor, get it checked out. That's my PSA for you. And the earlier detection saves lives. So I finished my AA degree at Orange Coast College. I went on to UCI, for those of, yeah, you too. And I earned my bachelor's in psychology. 2 days before my senior year began, I heard the words, "You have breast cancer." It's stage 3, and it's in your lymph nodes. I was devastated. I didn't expect it. It was 4 years later. We all like that 5-year mark. It's a 5-year, I made it to 5 years. Not that we die after 5 years, but it's just a mark. But I was devastated, and then I remembered I held on to what I knew. I had a village, I had support, I had Susan G. Komen, I had people like you, people like Donna. I stayed in school, I had surgery, I had chemotherapy. Again, my hair had just gotten to where I loved it, damn it. But I went through that, and then I had daily radiation. I would leave class, go get radiated, come back to class. It's all possible, it's all doable. So when I first found the cancer, I had no idea what to do. It didn't run in my family, and I just remember driving past a building with a pink ribbon on it, and I made a U-turn. And I walked in, and it happened to be the Susan G. Komen Orange County office. And I'll never forget, and I've said this before, I walked in and I said, I don't know what you do, I don't know what I need. I have breast cancer. And they helped me and supported me. Remember, single moms struggling financially, they helped me with their affiliates that helped pay my rent, my utilities. They made sure my children had Christmas that year. They continued to help me beyond belief through direct help with the people that work in the office to affiliates that they fund. And the second time around was no different, but this time I was educated about it. I felt, yes, I was scared. Of course I was. I mean, I'm a single mom. I have these little babies and I'm talking about my mortality, but I also knew from my experience that I wouldn't do it alone, that I would have this amazing team behind me. And I finished my course of treatment. I got one application in for grad school. I was going to apply to a dozen schools, and I was going to do it. I was sick, got one in the day it was due, and USC accepted me into their Masters of Social Work program. During this course, I discovered my superpower. My superpower was resilience. My superpower was commitment. My superpower was helping others. And I became determined that nothing would stop me from achieving this superpower to be of service to others, to inspire, encourage with my story, with my outcomes, with the education. And I'm doing that now, and I get to do it every day. And so the things that I learned through my journey with breast cancer, I learned again about advocating. I learned about breast health. I learned about my own resilience. I learned that I'm more than pink. And do we have that slide up there? And I learned that I am Wonder Woman.